The Galactic Council convened an emergency session for the first time in 3 millennia. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the crystalline halls of Centauri Prime, their varied forms casting strange shadows under the artificial starlight. The topic that brought them together was one that made even the most ancient civilizations tremble: humanity. Admiral Kess of the Altarian fleet stood before the assembly, his blue-scaled skin glistening with nervous moisture. Honored delegates. He began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. We face a crisis unlike any in recorded history. The humans have done something that defies all understanding of warfare, diplomacy, and survival itself. 3 months prior, the Vegan Empire had declared war on the relatively young human species. It seemed a simple conquest to the rest of the galaxy. Humans had been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries, while the vegans commanded fleets that had terrorized star systems for over 10,000 years. The mathematical certainty of human extinction was so absolute that most species had already begun discussing how to divide former human territories. But mathematics, as the universe learned, meant nothing to humanity. Commander Nash of the Human Defense Fleet had stood on the bridge of the starship Resilience as the vegan armada approached Earth's solar system. The enemy fleet numbered in the millions battleships the size of small moons, each one capable of cracking planets. Humanity's entire fleet consisted of 3,000 vessels, most of them converted civilian ships, hastily fitted with whatever weapons they could manufacture. "Sir, they're demanding our surrender," reported Lieutenant Blake, her voice steady despite the impossible odds. Nash studied the tactical display, watching the overwhelming force of red dots converging on their position. Any rational species would have surrendered immediately. Any logical civilization would have sought terms for the survival of their people. Humanity chose neither rationality nor logic. "Send them our response," Nash ordered. "Tell them that humans don't know how to surrender. Tell them they picked the wrong species to threaten." What followed became known throughout the galaxy as the War of Absolute Commitment. Humans didn't just fight the vegan empire, they fought with a ferocity that transcended normal warfare. When their ships were destroyed, the crews would ram the wreckage into enemy vessels. When their weapons ran out of ammunition, they improvised explosives from their own ship systems. When faced with boarding parties, human civilians would detonate their own habitat modules rather than be captured. But the true horror, the act that made the universe regard humanity with dread, came when the vegans deployed their planet killer weapons against Earth itself. General Marcus stood in the command bunker beneath the ruins of Geneva, watching as the massive beam weapons carved through Earth's atmosphere. The planet was dying, its surface turning to molten glass under the assault. Most species would have used their remaining time to evacuate, to preserve what they could of their civilization. Instead, Marcus activated Protocol Zero. Humanity had spent the last century mapping every habitable world in vegan space. They had infiltrated their systems, studied their culture, and prepared for this exact moment. As Earth burned, sleeper agents across the vegan empire activated simultaneously. Human ships, hidden in asteroid fields and gas giants throughout vegan territory, emerged from concealment. The humans had turned their entire species into a weapon of mutual destruction. Within hours, 17 vegan worlds were burning. Not military targets, civilian populations. Entire generations of vegan families were being systematically eliminated by humans who had nothing left to lose. The message was clear. If humanity died, the vegan empire would die with them, and humanity would make sure the vegans went first. The vegan emperor, faced with the complete annihilation of his people, sent a desperate transmission to Earth's dying surface. "Stop this madness. We withdraw our forces. We surrender." But the humans didn't stop. They continued their campaign of total destruction until the vegan empire was nothing but scattered refugees fleeing through space. Only then did the surviving humans, those who had escaped Earth's destruction aboard, evacuation ships finally ceased their assault. Ambassador Rita addressed the Galactic Council from her ship, her image projected into the chamber as the assembled aliens listened in stunned silence. The vegan empire believed they could threaten our existence without consequence. They learned that humans do not simply defend themselves. We ensure that anyone who threatens our species pays a price so severe that others will think twice before following their example. The silence in the chamber was absolute. 47 civilizations, many of them ancient beyond human comprehension, sat in the presence of a species that had committed genocide rather than accept defeat. The mathematics of it were horrifying. Humans had traded their homeworld for the complete destruction of an empire that had existed for millennia. Ambassador Tone of the Centaurian Republic finally spoke, his tentacles quivering with barely contained terror. You destroyed your own planet. Your entire species was nearly extinguished. How can you call this victory? Rita's expression remained calm, but her eyes held a coldness that chilled every being in the chamber. Because we're still here, and they're not. Because every species in this galaxy now knows that threatening humanity means facing extinction. We didn't just defeat the vegan empire, we sent a message to the universe itself. The message was received clearly by every civilization present. Humanity had demonstrated something that no other species had ever shown: the willingness to embrace total destruction rather than accept subjugation. They had proven that they would rather drag their enemies into oblivion than live as slaves. In the weeks that followed, human colonies throughout the galaxy received unprecedented offers of alliance, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts. Species that had never acknowledged human existence now competed to establish diplomatic relations. The surviving human fleet, though small, was granted passage through any system they wished to visit. But it was respect born of terror, not admiration. Captain James stood on the observation deck of the colony ship New Horizon, watching as they approached their new homeworld, a gift from the Altarian Republic, offered freely and without conditions. Behind him, 10,000 human survivors went about their daily lives, rebuilding their civilization from the ashes of their destroyed planet. Captain, called Engineer Wells from the communications station, we're receiving another message from the Zephyrian Alliance. They're offering us exclusive mining rights to 3 entire star systems. James nodded absently. The offers came daily, now entire civilizations, begging for humanity's friendship, terrified of earning their enmity. The galaxy had learned that humans were not a species to be conquered or controlled. They were a force of nature, as dangerous and unpredictable as a stellar collapse. The universe now regarded humanity with dread, but humans had ensured their survival through the one currency that every civilization understood: fear. They had become the species that others whispered about in the dark corners of space, the ones who would rather burn the galaxy than bow to tyrants. And in the cold mathematics of survival, that reputation was worth more than any homeworld.